health is real. Seek help and the stigma. On the news this afternoon, stakeholders speak as Rivers State of emergency rule clocks 3 months. Group threatens legal action over Risiek nomination. Indigene of Yelwata community, Benue State, recounts horror of deadly attack. Today is World Sickle Cell Day. Thai security at FCT High Court over Senator Natasha's arraignment. On the foreign scene, Iran missile attacks damage Israeli hospital, injure dozens. I'm Ife Chukwumoyele with the news. Now, a member of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, Mr. Chiziyo Maseli, says the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ebas, has restored peace in the state since he assumed office. Mr. Yo Maseli said this while speaking with correspondent Onyeka Chinwosu as the state of emergency closed 3 months yesterday. He also listed some other achievements of the sole administrator.
This administration made a state without a budget has been also appended to by the Supreme Court. And so they also would not want to fall foul to the same thing that happened with the suspended governor. Until now, a budget has been sent to the National Assembly to be passed, and we are expecting tangible infrastructure. But what the government has been doing is intangible infrastructure. For instance, prompt payment of salaries and pensions. I mean, he has started approving the payment for the newly employed staff at University Teaching Hospital. He has also approved the payment of all the medical and healthcare services in all the local government areas. That's why I think they are doing well.
Mr. Yo Maseli, who insists that the state now enjoys relative peace, spoke on the reason for the increase in ways and potholes on the roads.
Some level of peace, of course, we cannot have absolute peace, have been restored into Rivers State. Even political stability, a lot of things, reconciliation is ongoing with certain persons. I understand the biases and sentiment of people. No, we are human, but a very objective look into what is happening in Rivers State will understand that there's some level of stability in the security. I'm not saying it's a perfect fit. On the aspect of the potholes and all of that, I believe they're waiting for the budget because certain things have to be appropriated for before you can use. Basically, what they are dealing with is what I call administrative infrastructure. And that's what they may not look tangible.
But a policy analyst, Dr. Kennedy Allen Wakama, said the state has been on autopilot since the appointment of the sole administrator.
Rivers State is on autopilot. I say this with all sense of responsibility. Crime rate in Rivers State has spiked. Now, social services like environmental sanitation, you find refugees all over the place. You know, so many things that government ought to do are not being done. So I wouldn't say that the government is working. No, I don't think so. If you drive all around Rivers State, you will now find increasing potholes on our roads. These are things that we had road maintenance agencies that something that will not cost much. They fill these potholes. But today, those things are not being done.
Now, he argues that the sole administrator has done nothing to improve the economy of the state and its citizens.
They should restore a democratic and accountable governmental system where any of these social services that the people ought to get from government, where they fail in the discharge of any of them, we will have somebody that will be accountable to the people, where people can make demands. As it stands today, we Rivers Indigenes cannot make demands of the sole administrator because he is only here on a temporary and contingency basis. In my assessment, I don't think the appointment of the administrator has any positive impact in the social life and in the economic life of the state. Things are not working.
As you may know, President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State 3 months ago following the political crisis between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, and appointed retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ebas as sole administrator for 6 months. We go on a short commercial break.
In today's housing
You're welcome back. Now, the Rivers State Civil Society Organization, RIVS CSO, has faulted the nomination of Michael Ode, an indigene of Cross River State, as chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RISIEC. In an interview with our correspondent, the chairman of RIVS CSO, Enefa Georgewell, argued that since the declaration of an emergency rule in the state is, in their view, illegal, any appointment made by the current administration, including that of RISIEC, are equally unlawful. Georgewell said the organization is prepared to explore all available legal channels to challenge the nomination.
And all the actions taken by the solar administrator, taken by the president, is illegal. And if, for the purpose of analysis, both in terms of the appointment of the solar administrator, or even the boss as constituted by either the president or the solar administrator, as far as you are concerned, it is illegal and alien to our laws. And as a very civil society, we will do it to challenge using all legal instruments, including going to court and street protestation and every other means that they treat.
Now, George will, however, clarify that he is not opposed to non-indigenes occupying leadership positions in government agencies, provided they reside in Rivers State, conduct businesses there, and pay taxes within the state. Still on this, the secretary of the Obedient Movement in Rivers State, Gogo Wellington, says the Labour Party and other stakeholders has vowed to boycott any elections and activities done by the sole administrator in the state. Wellington tells correspondent Yobiorwari that it is a big political joke and disrespect to Rivers people to have a non-indigene nominated as RISIEC chairman.
This is a very huge slap in the faces of Rivers people. Rivers State is too big and too important in the scheme of things of a country like Nigeria for things like this to be happening. How can someone that is not from Rivers State to head the Electoral Commission? We will not be a part of any process that emerges or comes out of it. The stakeholders of the Labour Party in Rivers State, the leadership of the Labour Party in Rivers State, the leadership of the Obedient Movement in Rivers State will not be a part of any process, any illegal process initiated by sole administrator in Rivers State.
Yesterday, the Senate screened 17 nominees forwarded by President Bola Tinubu for confirmation to oversee critical institutions in Rivers State, including the Independent Electoral Commission, the Civil Service Commission, and the Local Government Service Commission. In another development, two civil society groups, the Incorporated Trustee of Good Samaritan Foundation for Social Welfare and the Incorporated Trustees of Mbako Development and Relief Initiative, have filed a fresh lawsuit at the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. The lawsuit seeks a judicial interpretation of the Supreme Court's judgment regarding the status of the Assembly, Martin Amehule, and 26 other lawmakers who allegedly defected from the PDP. Defendants include River State Government, the suspended state governor, the PDP, the APC, INEC, suspended Speaker Martin Amehule, and the 26 suspended lawmakers. Hearing on the lawsuit filed against the River State government and others was held at the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt yesterday. This was due to the absence of the presiding judge, who is currently attending a conference in Abuja. The case has been adjourned to October 13, 2025 for hearing. As you may know, a Federal High Court in Port Harcourt has dismissed a suit filed by the River State government led by suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Victor Kojumbo, and two others against the suspended Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, Martin Amehule, and 26 other lawmakers. The plaintiffs had filed the suit to challenge the legitimacy of Amehule and 26 other lawmakers following their alleged defection from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the All Progressives Congress, APC. The court, presided over by Justice Emmanuel Obile, dismissed the suit on the ground that the issue had already been determined by the Supreme Court in a separate case. The court also dismissed a similar suit filed by the Labour Party in River State on the same ground. Still to come, today is World Sickle Cell Day. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's STEM Festival, Africa's global STEM celebration.
You're welcome back, and now the rest of the news. The trial of 12 suspects accused of killing a female police inspector, Christiana Erekere, has resumed at the River State High Court in Port Harcourt after being previously stalled due to the absence of a defense witness. At the resumed hearing, one of the defendants, Napoleon Uweraka, told the court that the statement he gave at the Bori Area Command was made under duress. Uweraka also claimed that the late Inspector Erekere had injured the first and second defendants with her shoe before she ran into her office at the Taba police station. On the cross-examination by Police Prosecution Counsel Celestine Dixon, Uweraka denied claims that the occupant of the vehicle chased the police officer into the station. Correspondent Mekotoka reports that the presiding judge, Justice Augusta Chukwu, adjourned the matter to June 23, 26, 27, and July 11, 2025 for accelerated hearing. Accelerated hearing. Now, recall that Inspector Christiana Erekere was allegedly killed on April 24, 2024 during a stop-and-search operation at the Taba Police Division in Kanalagu Government Area. The suspects were reportedly traveling from Delta State to Akwa Ibom for a traditional marriage ceremony. And now, an indigene of Yelewata community in Benue State, Frank Oto, says the first 7 persons he called to confirm the recent attacks in the state were also killed in the attack. Oto, a lawyer and a U.S. resident, in an interview with Business Day, claimed more than 200 people were killed in the attack. He said he got an intelligence report even before the attack happened and said those involved in the attack hold their meetings openly.
More than 200 people were killed. When I got the story of what happened, the first 7 calls I put across were all killed. In my village today, if you speak to someone, just be very rest assured that in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, you hear the sad news about that person you've just spoken to. And do you know, before now, just last month, about 20 people were killed in that same village.
Mr. Oto said the herdsmen attacked the village not just for grazing, but to take over the land.
What they did was extremely tactical and strategic with military precision. Right now, there are a lot of tea villages in my council ward that will be taken over. They take over not just for grazing, but for proper settlement. You go to these villages today, you find even their kids crawling. They brought them, their families, occupying thief homes, thief houses, which are still standing. So it's not all about open grazing prohibition. It's about total takeover of the land.
In the meantime, a security expert, Felix Obaodu, called on the federal government to introduce a strict grazing policy. Speaking in an interview with correspondent Mekotoka, Obaodu, a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, said open grazing should be stopped completely as it is one of the major causes of the repeated clashes. He said grazing should be restricted to designated areas.
The point is that let us identify cattle rearing areas, grazing areas, and these guys should be restricted to those areas. If you come to Abuja here, you'll be surprised. You see cows being moved around at the center of the city, and that's very embarrassing. So they should identify grazing zones where they should be restricted to. You cannot be moving out to the town. What for? The one that never come out with their cows. If you are no longer interested in grazing because you became somewhere, come out and look for something else to do. So that's it.
Another security expert, Efe Wanogo, says ethnic bias and lack of political will are major obstacles to solving the problem. He described the president's call for the Benue State governor to engage in dialogue as a sign of the government's failure to protect its citizens.
It's one too many, basically, that happened for far too long. And I think what is lacking is because of the perspective of ethnic coloration. And I perceive that the political will to address this matter head-on is a problem. That's what's lacking by virtue of the fact that the recent response by the president himself was telling the governor of the state to go and do some reconciliation. And for this is basically a failure of the security architecture and a failure of government to protect the citizens of Benue, another part of Nigeria. Benue should have been a place where security is on full alert until you think you have had reasonable peace.
Still on this, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, has unveiled President Bola Tinubu's comprehensive roadmap for restoring peace and security in Benue State and the wider North Central region. In a statement yesterday, Akume explained that the federal government is rolling out a multi-layered security strategy aimed at ending the recurring violence that has plagued the region for years. He also stressed that achieving lasting peace will require strong cooperation between federal and state governments. Police operatives have taken over security arrangement at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory ahead of the arraignment of Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan on alleged defamation today. The police personnel are stationed in strategic locations and also within the court premises. They were deployed to the court to prevent any possible threat to peace in the area. Meanwhile, Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan arrived at the court, Maitama 30 minutes ahead of the scheduled time. In other news, today is World Sickle Cell Day. World Sickle Cell Day is observed annually on June 19th to raise awareness about sickle cell disease, SCD. Now, this International Awareness Day aims to educate the public about SCD, its impact, and the importance of early diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. The day also serves to promote research and innovation in the field, reduce stigma, and empower communities to advocate better care. According to the World Health Organization, Nigeria accounts for over 50% of SCD births globally, and 70 to 90% of affected children die before their 5th birthday due to lack of early diagnosis and proper treatment. And now we move to business. Business journalist Frank Elia is backing Dangote Petroleum Refinery's direct distribution plan. As you may know, Dangote Refinery announced on Sunday that from August 15, they'll start direct delivery of fuel across Nigeria, completely bypassing depot owners. The company said it has procured 4,000 brand new compressed natural gas-powered trucks to boost its fuel supply across the country. Filling station owners are divided on this. While the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, commends the move, the Petroleum Product Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, PetroOne, disagrees, saying the new model could run them out of business. But speaking on Nigeria Info FM's Talking Figures, Mr. Elia says the decision will benefit consumers.
It's not a story that makes you, shake your head. Makes you also ask yourself whose side some of these people are on. For me, I think there's a no-brainer. I'm on the side of the consumers, and anything that works to the point where it reduces the pressures that people are currently feeling, I think that's a good thing. So who does it benefit? I think it is the consumers. That's number one. That's the number one people that it benefits directly.
And now in entertainment, singer Iyanya has dedicated a song to victims of herdsmen attack in Benue State. In sports, Newcastle want to sign England forward Marcus Rashford on loan, but Manchester United would prefer offloading the 27-year-old on a permanent basis.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
A hospital in Beersheba in southern Israel has been hit after Iran launched a wave of missiles overnight. Reports say Soroka Hospital was extensively damaged, while Israel's emergency service says at least 65 people have been injured across the country. Iranian state media reports that the missile strike targeted a military site next to the hospital and not the facility itself.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
On the news this afternoon, you heard stakeholders have reacted differently as Rivers State of Emergency rule clocks 3 months. Group has threatened legal action over nomination of non-indigene as chairman of RISIAC. An indigene of Yelewata community in Benue State has recounted the horror of a deadly attack in the community. Today is World Sickle Cell Day. On the foreign scene, Iran missile attacks have damaged Israeli hospital and injured dozen others. The news was edited by Onyekachi Musu. To reach the news team, send an SMS on WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Moyele. Many thanks for listening.
with ideas for sustainable development.
92.3 Nigeria Info serves you opportunities
to ask great questions,
contribute solutions,
and transform society for the better.
Odyssey.